What's going on, guys? Mortgage and real estate broker Mike here again. And today I'm going to talk about a topic that I don't think enough people are talking about, which is buying and selling a home at the same time. I didn't think it was this much of a big deal until I came across my third situation that didn't go ideally again, right? Since this year started, I've been involved in 3 scenarios where there was a seller trying to sell their home and buy another home at the same time. So I'm going to give you real quickly a quick synopsis of the 3 scenarios. Scenario number 1 went perfectly. This was a scenario where the sellers actually had everything planned out. They already found the home that they were going to move into. They put the down payment on it before they even hired me to sell the home that they were living in. So they were already 2 to 3 weeks into their contract on the home that they were purchasing. Not only that, they had a backup plan, right? So even if they didn't move into the home as planned, they had a backup plan to do a short-term rental. And if that didn't work out, they had relatives that they were going to move into their home. Now, luckily, everything went smoothly. We sold the home. I think I sold their home in like 35 or 40 days is from the time I listed the property to when they actually sold their current home that they were living in. It was gone. It was sold. So everything worked out. They closed on their home, I think, the following week or something like that. So they ended up staying with a relative, and then they were able to move into their home. Scenario number 2, I was actually representing the buyers in this case, right? So we had a buyer who fell in love with a home where the sellers were also trying to buy a home. So now I'm representing the buyer. I'm not representing a seller. And usually, when I represent a buyer in a scenario where, the seller's telling you, hey, me selling you this home is contingent on me completing a purchase of another home, I usually tell my buyers, if we can avoid that and move on to a home that's either vacant or a seller that's motivated, let's do that, because a myriad of things can go wrong. If you're enjoying this video and you find value in it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Everything that could go wrong went wrong in this scenario. First of all, there was a problem with the inspection. To be fair, they remedied that, right? The sellers, I believe it was something with the roof. We got that taken care of. There were some issues inside the home, I believe with a water heater and, some things in the kitchen with the appliances. The sellers took care of that. So that was good. Number 2, the appraisal came back for less, a lot less than what they expected. Long story short, they now could not give my buyers the amount of closing costs that they promised because they weren't going to have enough to purchase the home that they're looking at. And I was trying to explain, well, if my buyers pull out because you're no longer giving them the closing costs that you promised, you're not going to get any money because there's no deal, right? That deal fell apart. Luckily, I was able to find my buyers a different home that closed, but everything just blew up because these sellers did not do their due diligence. They're kind of just winging it, right? And that is not what you want to do when you're trying to buy a home and sell a home at the same time. It's already a complex situation. Very few times are you going to be able to purchase a home and buy a home at the same time and everything line up perfectly. It just rarely ever happens. Scenario number 3, I am the listing agent. I'm the one representing the seller on this deal. This is a deal that's actually going on right now. We have a scenario where a couple are going their separate ways after the closing of this deal. So that alone can be a nightmare, okay? In terms of management, in terms of logistics, and just how everything is coordinated. Anyways, this seller grossly overestimated their ability to find a home while their home is being sold. When I list a property for sale, my goal is to have it sold within 2 to 3 weeks for us to be under contract and closed within 30 to 45 days. And sure enough, that's what I did. I believe we got a contract 14 or 15 days into the listing. Generally speaking, it's a bad idea to think you're going to be able to line up the closing of your sale of your home and then the purchase of a new home. It just rarely ever happens. Have I said that enough? It very rarely ever happens. Luckily, the buyers were reasonable people and they agreed to a lease back, or what's called post occupancy. This is where a seller rents the property back from the buyers of the property. So now the sellers become the tenants of the buyers who just purchased the home. You have to negotiate how much you're going to pay per day or per week to the new owners of the property, negotiate security deposit, and when you're going to move out. And if I'm being honest, not my favorite thing to do for buyer or seller. When you sell a home, you want to be able to exchange funds for keys. It gets too messy. So many things can go wrong. It's just not what you want to do. So with that being said, these are the key takeaways for this video. Number one, have a plan. Have a clear strategy of what you want to do before you sell your home. Takeaway number two, if you can afford to do it, move out of the home that you're selling before you start to sell it. Before you even list it with an agent, move out, make the home vacant, right? And that has a couple of advantages because it makes the home easier to stage. It's more inviting to a buyer when they go in there and it's a staged home, no one is living there, and it's just more attractive, right? The buyer knows that, they don't have to deal with, someone like in scenario number two being in the home after they purchased the home. They know once they purchased, on the day of closing, they can just walk into that home. Takeaway number three, understand that between the lenders, the appraisers, the inspectors, all of these things equal uncertainty, right? So if you're selling a home, if you're on the sell side, know that when your home goes under inspection and appraisal, these are things that could slow the process down if the inspection doesn't come back the way you expected it, or if the appraisal doesn't come back for as much as you wanted, or if the buyer's lender gives them a problem for whatever reason. For example, perfect example is a listing I just took where the roof is going to need to be replaced, right? So if you're getting a mortgage for this property, especially if it's an FHA mortgage, and the inspector sees that, hey, this is a 30-year-old roof and it's gonna need to be replaced, chances are that buyer is not gonna be able to move forward until the roof is replaced. And for you as a seller, this could cause a problem. Not only that, but for most buyers, their bank wants them to occupy the property immediately. Most FHA mortgages have a hard requirement that this is your primary residence, that's the property you're gonna live in. So giving the sellers the option of post-occupancy and staying in the property after they've sold it is not an option for most buyers. And going into a short-term rental, to be honest, is a better option. So thank you for watching, guys. If you are looking to purchase and sell a home, it's not impossible. Get in touch with me and I'll help you.